Miss Rose, and welcome to Mathematics, Science, and Technology. Today, our topic for today is in Chapter 3, Essential of Physical Science. Our learning objectives. At the end of the chapter, the student can describe what is matter, list and describe classification of matter, list and describe the types of elements and compounds, differentiate between the heterogeneous and homogeneous mixture, differentiate between physical and chemical change, and differentiate potential and kinetic energy. In matter, it is described in the physical things around us. The earth, the air you breathe, and we are using is also made up of particles, which is atoms and molecules. So in matter, anything that occupies space and has mass. So, lahat na nakikita is composed of matter. So under the classification of matter, it can be solid, liquid, and gas, and two parts of matter, which is the mixture and pure substance. That is the physical method. And mixture, that is the variable composition, components retain their characteristic components. So under the mixture, that is heterogeneous mixture and homogeneous mixture. So in heterogeneous mixture, do not have the same components throughout, while the homogeneous mixture have the same component of composition. Under naman sa pure substances or fixed composition, what is fixed composition? Is the element and compounds. So elements cannot be decomposed into simpler substance by chemical change, while the compound can be decomposed into simpler substance by chemical change. Always siya constant composition. So that is the classification of matter. So under the classification of matter, that is in mixture. So mixture, that is the combination of two or more substances, and each substance keeps its own chemical identity. From the word mix, when one component to another component are combined into chemical identity. For example, smoke and fire, that's smog. Dirt and water, that is mud. Combination of sun, water, and gravel, that is cement. Water and salt, that is seawater. Potassium nitride, sulfur, and carbon, pag nang-mix siya, that is gunpowder. Oxygen and water, that is sea foam. Pag nang-mix ang petroleum, hydrocarbons, and fuel additives, that is gasoline. So that is the example of mixture. The next one is under the mixture, that is heterogeneous mixture and homogeneous mixture. So in heterogeneous mixture, that is the multi-phase substances of a non-uniform composition. For example, in sweet, example salad. So different kinds of vegetable we combine, magiging salad, but in our naked eye, ma-identify natin kung anong mga substance na combination ng different salad, different vegetable. So, under the liquid naman, for example, is the ice cube in a drink. So, hindi siya nagiging kulay o nagiging solution, makikita pa rin ang ice cube in a liquid. Same is in the gaseous, from the combination of the smoke and fog. So, the smoke. So, ma-identify natin siya ang smoke and fog. So, in the other hand, that is homogeneous mixture. Next is the homogeneous mixture, or the uniform mixture, or uniform composition. or solution. So, under the homogeneous mixture, for example, coffee, combination of water and coffee. So, pag nag-collide siya, that is in the solution. Also, the wine, air, brass, steel, natural gas, vinegar, and blood. So, as you can see, hindi natin agad ma-identify kung ano yung component, different components ito combination na nagiging solution siya o nag-collide siya. That is the homogeneous mixture. The next is the pure substances. Under the pure substance, cannot be separated in two or more substances by physical or mechanical means. It's also the homogeneous has uniform composition throughout the whole sample, has constant composition, a substance that are made up of only one kind of particles and has a fixed and constant structure. It also cannot be separated by physical means. Bagit na, under the pure substance is the element and compound. So, element cannot be chemically separated. List on, kikita siya sa periodic table. So, for example, carbon, sulfur, copper, mercury. Unlike sa compounds, can be chemically separated, made up of elements. For example, soap, water, sugar, and dust. So that is the proof substance, the elements and compounds. So next is the classification of elements. Under the classification of elements na makikita sa periodic table, this is an example of periodic table. There is metal, non-metals, metalloids, and unit gases. So, in periodic table, emphasize dyan ang non-metals, metals, metalloids, and unit gases. So, for example, of 20 elements of periodic table, that is hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, and so on. So, in classification of elements, first is metal. Metal is the material that freshly prepared, polished, or broken show a shiny appearance and conduct electricity and heat relatively well. So, metals are typically malleable or mabend siya or ductile. So, types of metal that is aluminum, brass, bronze, boron, copper, gold, gunmetal, and iron. That is also a solid of a room temperature except the mercury. It has high density. Thermal conductor. That is metals. The next one is the non-metal. Non-metal are natural materials that do not produce heat or electricity and that are structurally brittle. Brittle. Cannot be easily rolling, modeling, extruding, or freezing. So chemically, hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, arsenic, selenium are the non-metals in the periodic table. For example, these, sulfur or brimstone, microsphere of phosphorus, is non-metal, and graphite. That is only pure from the carbon and diamond. So that's the example of non-metals. The next one is the metalloids. So as you can see in the periodic table, these metalloids. Metalloids are the small group of elements found in the periodic table. Elements along the zigzag line. The zigzag line distinguishes metals from non-metals. Is drawn from between boron and aluminum to the border polonium and actinium. So for example of metalloids, that is boron, silicon, aluminum, arsenic, antimony, plutonium, and polonium. So that is the semi-metals or metalloids. That is also high ozonization energies. Poor thermal conductors and poor electrical conductors. That is metalloids. The next one is the inert gases. Under the inert gases, so it's a gas that has extremely low reactivity with other substances. Or the noble gases. So that's also the inert gases and noble gases. Example is the helium, argon, neon, xenon, krypton, radium. These the inert gases. The next one is compound. In compound, that is the classified organic or organic compounds. So organic or inorganic or organic compounds, coordination of complexes which contain metals atoms, visual transitions of transition elements, bounded to ligands that may be organic. So compound also classified whether the ionic covalent bonds. So, in chemistry, compounds is any substance composed of identical molecules consisting of atoms with two or more chemical elements. That is compound. So under the compound, properties of matter. In properties of matter, that is physical properties and chemical properties. So in physical properties, that is properties that do not change the chemical nature of matter. It is the characteristic of the substance that can be observed or measured without changing its identity of substance. So, physical properties of matter include color, hardness, malleability, solubility, electrical conductivity, density, melting, and points and burning points. In short, pag physical properties, hindi siya nagbabago na identity na or any color or electric conductivity na the same. Unlike sa chemical properties, the properties that do change the chemical nature of matter. So, it's also properties of matter describe its potential to undergo some chemical change or reaction by virtue of composition. The elements, electrons, and bonds are give the matter potential and chemical change. So what is the example of properties of matter under the physical properties? For example, is ice cream melting. So, wala siyang chemical. Kasi siyang minot ang ice cream. So, that is physical properties. Next one is cutting wood. Kung i-cut ang wood, the same components, wood pa rin. So, that is physical properties. Under naman sa chemical properties, example is burning wood. So, pag ma-burn ang wood, hindi na siya magiging wood. Nag-iba ang composition niya, texture niya. Next one example is baking a cake. The energy. Energy is the ability of object to do work. It may consist in potential and kinetic, thermal, electrical, chemical, nuclear, or other various forms of energy. Its coordinates with the work energy theory, the work done by the stored energy of the body. So that is the energy composition of electrical, mechanical, chemical, gravitational energy, transient energy, nuclear energy, magnetic energy. So that is the ability to do work with heat object or heat object. Next, under the energy, there is the potential energy. So, potential energy, the energy stored within the object due to the object position, arrangement, or state. Potential energy is one of the two main forms of energy, along with the kinetic energy. So, potential energy with the formula, potential energy, which is the mgh, or the mass times the gravity, which is empirical, equivalent to 9.8 Newton per kilogram. And the height is in meter. So, always remember, pag height, dapat naka-meter. So, that is the formula of potential energy. Next one is the kinetic energy. Under the kinetic energy is the energy that object possess due to their motion. So, kinetic energy formula, this is the formula of kinetic energy. 1/2 times mass as velocity squared. So, m equals to mass, which is in kilogram, velocity, which is meter per second, and the symbol or the unit of kinetic energy is joule. That is joule. So, that is the kinetic energy. So, the next is the conversion and conservation of energy and matter. So, the law of conservation of energy, that is the energy cannot be created or destroyed. So, under the law of conservation of energy may change form, but the total amount remains the same. So, that is the law of conservation energy. And the next one is the law of conservation. The next one is the conservation of the law of conservation of matter or mass. So that is the mass neither created nor destroyed, and ordinary chemical and physical changes mass starts and ends with the same amount. For example, log na 30 kg, tas fire na 1 kg, ang log magiging ash, magiging abo, mabawasan siya into 28 kg plus smoke and fire. That's the law of conservation of mass. So, that is our topic for chapter 3. Thank you and God bless.